You mentioned the samurai. I don't know a lot about it, but from what I recall, the defining attitude in battle, anyway, was that the samurai would go in already believing he was dead.
Yes.
And
yes.
so if you truly embrace that, I wonder if you could talk about that, not just as a soldier, but as an investor and as a citizen and as somebody who is just trying to navigate these extraordinary times. What might we learn from the samurai?
Well, I think it's kind of the culture of the Japanese also. It's the culture of education. And we have no financial education in our schools. And so I had to find out when I came back from Vietnam, I'm going, what are they not teaching us? How come I know more than my peers? And that's why Rich Dad, Poor Dad came up, because I already had a rich dad. I knew more about money than most. I went for my MBA program, returning. I got stationed back in Hawaii, Marine Corps Air Station Kaneohe, and I went for my MBA program. And of course, I got spit on and all that stuff, But I'm sitting in the MBA program. I said, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. There was a blind leading the blind, I went, holy mackerel.
Sorry, but when you say, of course, I got spit on, I think we need to remind some of our younger listeners that returning home from the Second World War was a very, very different thing than returning home from Vietnam.
Correct.
And people may have read about it or heard some stories, but first of all, you enlist to fight for a country who incarcerated your relatives. Secondly, right. You return from that fight, you're flying an attack helicopter, and you are literally egged and spit on. Again, that doesn't seem to turn you into a bitter, angry, broken person, but it must have done something to you. It must have done something, Robert. What did it do?
Well, that guy, David Coggins, he's a Navy SEAL.
Sure.
He writes, suffering leads to something. So the longer you can endure the suffering, you find your greatness in your suffering. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of young people, is they're coddled. Everybody gets a trophy. And so it's my friend was a lieutenant general, now a congressman. He says about 10, 15 years ago, they couldn't find Marines. The young men aren't strong.
Do you know how many people you're pissing off these days, Robert?
I hope a lot.
Okay. I'm really getting a sense that, you wrote what you wrote decades ago, and you went on this crusade of sorts to inspire a level of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
In people. And now it just feels like you're looking around going, safe spaces? What? What are you talking about, a safe space? We need an unsafe space. We need an uncomfortable space.
Right.
And I haven't read anything that you've written that led me to conclude that, but just in the last 20 minutes, it's clear that you're looking around and wondering, who moved my cheese? What's changed? What's changed in our country?
Well, can I tell you one more thing that disturbed me? As I came back from Vietnam and I got discharges. Actually, I got court-martialed out twice.
What? What'd you do?
Disciplinary problems.
Oh, really?
But anyway.
Hard to believe.
Oh, God. Yeah. I had women problems.
Do tell.
Back at that era, Marines had no hair.
Mm-hmm.
And every guy who was a civilian had long hair. And so I was having trouble picking up chicks in Waikiki. So I said, well, what advantage do I have? This is the disco era, if you remember.
Uh-huh.
And so I didn't look like John Travolta or anything. So I have no hair. So I'd go up to these women and say, you want to go for a helicopter ride?
I bet that worked.
It worked like a charm.
Right up to the court martial.
Yeah, up to the point the government found out. Yeah.
The official charge, misappropriation of government vehicle.
Wait a minute.
They left off flying drunk on top of it.
Well, now we're getting somewhere. So the author of the best-selling financial book of all time is telling me that once upon a time he'd have a few pops, fire up a multi-million-dollar government helicopter, and invite girls on a date. They said yes, off you went, and for some reason, our leaders looked askance at that.
Well, I wasn't like Clinton, you know.
I don't even.
I didn't do it in the White House. I did it on the beaches of Hawaii.
I'm just trying to imagine it. You're flying around Hawaii. You're like, that's a pretty beach down there. Maybe we'll set this thing down for a couple minutes. And then you spread out the picnic tablecloth, right? And you open, a nice basket with fruit and wine. And next thing you know, it's from Here to Eternity, starring Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah. And then I got caught. So it was fun.
How'd you get caught?
Yeah.
What? I don't know. I came in.
Came in hot.
Was a Sunday afternoon. I'm taxiing in, and the MPs come up around me, and then next thing you know, I'm in handcuffs going off. So that I always laugh is when they opened the door of my Huey, the first thing that fell out was beer cans. And the second thing that fell out was me.
Wow.
And then some girl shaking sand out of her hair. Well, what a night we had.